In every game, there will be abilities, weapons, features, etc. that attract players, whether it be for personal interest or just overall use, and Monster Hunter is no exception. Last week, I covered the 5 worst armor exclusive skills in Sunbreak. If you haven't seen that video, I highly suggest you do so by either clicking the annotation or in the description below. This will be that video's antithesis, so rather than covering skills that failed, I'm going to discuss the ones that have and continue to succeed while explaining why. Here's the 5 best armor exclusive skills in Monster Hunter Rise so far. A trend that I'm absolutely loving to the teeth are the risk and reward skills and sets. Not like Nakarko's Bone Sad or Valstrak's Dragonheart, but more on the lines of Safi Jiva, Geismagorm, and Scorned Magnamalo. What differentiates the former from the latter is that the set revolves around sacrificing health in exchange for power. Dereliction comes from the Geismagorm set. From the start of the hunt, Dereliction will slowly consume your health over time and boost your elemental and status while in Red Scroll, and increase your attack and stun properties while in Blue Scroll. The longer you remain on a particular scroll, the Curio increased and raise your stat buffs and heals you for swapping scrolls. Depending on the skill level, maximum being 3, the stat bonuses you receive obviously increase, but the health drain over time fortunately does not. The boosts provided are flat bonuses and vary per stat. Attack will increase per level in increments of 5. So for level 1, it'd be 15 to 25, level 2 would be 20 to 30, and level 3 would be 25 to 35. The elemental increase is 5 to 12, 7 to 15, and 10 to 20. The best aspect of the skill is its universal usability. Any weapon can benefit from the boost provided by Dereliction, such as a raw greatsword and an elemental charge blade set. It has the added benefit of the Archfiend armor having excellent decoration slots and skill spread. The leggings are one of the best to receive Dereliction, even if it's just level 1, as the 3/2/2 slots are extremely beneficial. Not to mention, these slots can be augmented to have even better slots. Compared to its counterpart, Mail of Hellfire, the risk of being one-shot is less likely. Mail of Hellfire provides a 15, 25, 35 boost to attack in Red Scroll, and surprisingly a percentage increase to element in Blue Scroll, valued at 5%, 10%, and 20%. When running the numbers, Mail of Hellfire's element increase only benefits weapons with higher element stats, as a percentage increase on a weapon with 30 would only raise the total by literally 1 point, 1.5 for the actual, with only a single level of Mail of Hellfire. Meanwhile, Dereliction provides a flat bonus, equal amounts of attack, and a heal when swapping. Dereliction withstands the test of time, as even at level 1, the stat boost offsets the need to slot in other flat attack boosts. Utility skills in Monster Hunter are commonly seen as movement, recovery, stamina, weapon-specific enhancements, etc. Essentially, they do not provide benefits that outwardly affect offensive or defensive stats. Intrepid Heart being one such skill, it allows for a meter to build up as you attack, to reduce damage, and knock back from a single attack. It's almost like having Divine Blessing and Flinch Freeze Child. In my personal opinion, I find this to be one of the most balanced utility skills in the game. First, its condition relies upon you being offensive. If you let up for a couple seconds, the bar will start decreasing. Even at max level, it doesn't fill up too quickly. So once you do have the single hit resist, it doesn't mean you're entirely safe. If you're using an attack that prevents knockback like Zero Sum Discharge or Rage Slash, it won't consume the resist. I made a short about all that, so you can go and watch that if you want, but it's fair because if you're taking a multi-hit facial decimation, then it could easily stun or kill you. Regardless, the fact that this skill has drawbacks that rival the usefulness of the effect itself is as close to true balance as it gets. I know I just went from one meter build skill that was meticulously balanced to one that's crazy powerful. I get that. Powder Mantle released as the unique armor skill attached to the Risen Teostra set. The set itself is already loaded with skills that many players want and now has a literal explosive payoff. After consecutive attacks, an invisible meter builds with 2 stages. The first stage appears as an orange glow from the hunter and, when knocked back, will explode and deal damage to nearby monsters, similar to how the lantern bugs work. The second stage will have a blue glow, and on the next attack will deal a base damage explosion that deals hefty damage. Whenever you're not attacking consecutively, the meter will act like a longsword and drain by a single stage. What makes this skill extraordinary is that it operates almost like Blast, but double the damage, and even failing to fully build the meter will still result in success if you're knocked down. The armor that is attached to it is also wild, as it bolsters multiple levels of critical eye. Of course, Risen Tailstar armor is getting dogged out by the Chaotic Gore set, as it does have the Strife, Berserk, Bloodlust, and Coalescence combo alongside critical eye. It still does wonders for people who aren't as accustomed to being able to use Berserk. Since their debut, the Magala family has the unique aspect of applying what is called the Frenzy. While they are a long ways from their premier title, the Magalas have a devoted fan base who want them to appear in all subsequent games. It becomes a tad difficult to bring Frenzy back every game when the status quo of each title since 4 has been to introduce some sort of biological threat that adds a new flavor to hunts. 4 had the Frenzy, Generations with Hypers and Deviants, and World with Tempered Monsters. The problem with that is that the Frenzy mechanic was a big part of the story and gameplay of 4, similar to how the Affliction works in Sunbreak. In 4, Frenzy was applied by Gore or Apex monsters, and in Generations was applied by the Hunter art called Frenzy Fever. In Sunbreak, the Shigaru Magala and Chaotic Magala sets grant Bloodlust. The moment you enter combat with a monster, you are afflicted with the Frenzy, but instead of the traditional rules where you just have to cleanse it, now it provides a boost to attack, evasion, and at a certain level, the use of stamina reduction, before getting cleansed and becoming the Affinity boost. Even without Resuscitate and Coalescence, this skill is still strong on its own, though this skill is quite often paired with Dereliction and now Berserk because both skills benefit from the recovery of red health, so it doesn't seem like this skill will ever die out for the rest of this title's lifespan. I'd like to dedicate this section to the skills that I couldn't decide on being among the top 5. Yes, Berserk and Strife are both good in their own right, but also not good unless paired with the other or Strife paired with Dereliction. So this is just going to be me being brief on my coverage for those I considered but ultimately didn't pick. Elemental Exploit is, in essence, the elemental version of the Monster Hunter 3 version of Weakness Exploit, where increased damage is dealt to a part where Element is highly effective. See, this skill would be a lot more useful if the weapon has a decent elemental stats paired with elemental attack boost, and a weapon that has a high attack with elemental modifiers, good lord say that 5 times fast, such as Ultra Element Discharge. Otherwise, it's just wasted slots. Build-up boost and status trigger were extremely close to being members of the 5, but unfortunately I gotta deny their birthright. These skills helped put status weapons back on the map. It's not to say the status weapons are particularly bad or that they were never picked too often, but now because of the elemental competition, momentary big boy numbers displayed by YouTubers don't reward the instant gratification. Berserk, I know, I'll get into the guarantee myself, relax. However, I do have to say it. I mentioned earlier how Berserk doesn't function as well without Strife and Bloodlust. The set requires those skills in order to function as intended. Yes, it keeps you alive, but your health drains faster when you receive damage, which forces you to swap scroll spam, or to get back to normal, heal, healthy, natural, or wait until Bloodlust reactivates. Yes, Berserk is a tandem skill, and the aforementioned skills are attached to the same armor as Berserk, but I wouldn't necessarily call it the best armor skill. I don't even have to take that long on this one. Use your Silkbind skill that has a medium or long cooldown without Wind Mantle. Now use your Silkbind skill with Wind Mantle after consecutive attacks. Tell me what you see. I'll give you a second. Now if you came up with the answer of little to no difference, that's right. That is all. Good night. This is essentially the defensive form of Agitator, and I'm not going to front. I love this skill, not for the defense boost, but for the roar, wind, and tremor resistance. This was such a fascinating addition to the game because it's helpful not just for casuals, but for experienced players as well, as it replaces the need to slot in those resistances in the 2 to 4 slots, and instead can use leftover or expendable level 1 decoration slots to fill them in. Is it balanced? I don't know. Is it good? Hell yeah. That's it for my list. Sorry that it had to split off at the end. There were all those different ones that could be's, but there's definitely a ton of good looking skills, and I'm sure it'll only get better from here on as other title updates come out. This has been Monster Hunter, and until next time.